It really, breaks my heart to see what happened with that child. I start praying for that child right there.
A 3-year-old little boy killed by gunfire. Brunswick Hills police tell us Maxwell Lamatrice shot himself after finding a gun on a workbench in the garage of his home. He was airlifted to the hospital, but sadly did not survive.
If the weapon was unloaded, properly secured, properly locked up, and within out of reach of a child. Everybody that owns a weapon and everybody that legally can have a weapon, they should be responsible. Children that are very young, curiosity is going to be a thing. So I think, parents need to maybe educate the child, let them know, hey, don't touch this.
And the chief adds when this investigation is complete, it will be sent to the Medina County Prosecutor's Office for review. But as of now, no arrest or charges in this case. Now, following this tragic shooting death, 19 Investigates taking a closer look at just how often incidents like this one happens. While accidental shootings could be preventable, investigator Mike Mason found that sadly, they remain a leading cause of death in children.
Brunswick Hills police say 3-year-old Maxwell Lamatrice accidentally shot himself when a gun fell off a workbench Wednesday evening. And sadly, just like in the vast majority of other cases like this, the gun was unlocked and loaded. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently published a report on unintentional firearm deaths among children. They reviewed cases from the years 2003 to 2021 in the U.S. and Puerto Rico. They found these types of shootings typically took place in a house or apartment. 56% of them happened in the child's own home. More than half of the fatal gunshot wounds in children ages 5 and under were self-inflicted, and in 99% of deaths in kids 5 and under, the gun was unlocked and loaded. These unlocked guns were most commonly accessed from either a nightstand or under a mattress or a pillow. Kids also found them in the kitchen or inside a closet or vehicle. Others were taken from inside a purse or a backpack. The CDC says putting a firearm out of sight and out of reach is simply not enough to prevent these tragic deaths from occurring. They say what has proven effective is securing the firearms properly, and that includes storing them locked, unloaded, and separated from ammunition. And you could potentially save a life by simply purchasing a gun trigger lock. They cost less than $10, plus many local law enforcement agencies offer them for free through a partnership with Project Child Safe. In the newsroom, Mike Mason, 19 News.